All right, everyone. Good morning, one and all. Let's get started this morning, getting our minds and bodies awake. I invite us to rise in the ways that we do. We will do 10:21, Lean on Me. Good start to the morning. I'm the Reverend Doug Watkins. I am the interim senior minister here. I am glad to welcome you all this morning, especially our visitors. If you are a visitor, either online or here in our sanctuary, we hope that you'll feel very welcome and that you'll join us for coffee hour if you are here. If you are a visitor online, we invite you to go to our homepage. If you go there and click on the Welcome Visitors banner, it will take you to a page that gives you information about the congregation. You can also sign our virtual guest book there, and we will send you our newsletter, the contact, and also the links for our various events coming up on Zoom. If you are here on campus, we invite you to join us out in coffee hour. Everyone is invited. And if you go to the welcome corner, you can also sign up there to receive our newsletter and to get our links, etc. And so I hope you'll take a moment to do that while you are here with us. There are several things that I want to remind you of for this upcoming week. I want to remind you that we have our annual meeting today online on Zoom at 2 p.m. You should have received an invitation that gives you that Zoom link, but if you happen to have trouble finding it, you can go to the top of the members corner and you can find there where the link so that you can get on for our service. I also remind you that a very big event that we are co-sponsoring is happening next weekend. Howard Thurman was and is the preeminent theologian in liberal tradition, and one that we refer to as Unitarian Universalist quite often. And we will have two of the leading scholars on Howard Thurman presenting on Friday. And then on Saturday the 2nd, we will have a gathering that includes some small group breakouts and a chance to take that very dynamic preaching legacy and decide how to bring it into this time and place that so desperately needs that kind of energy. And so Dr. Shively Smith will be joining us here in the sanctuary on the 3rd. She will be our guest preacher, and she is amazing. So you definitely want to come and hear her preach. And so that all of those events will be at First Congregational. You can sign up online. I look forward to being a part of the workshop next weekend. I hope you will join us as well. I would like to invite Mary Lou Keller to join me and share some announcements about our upcoming and exciting auction. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Isn't it wonderful to be back together again? I got applause from the choir, so that's great. All right, it's wonderful to be back in person. I'm really looking forward to the Serendipity auction this year. We claim it's the most fun that you'll have all year, and if you bid right, that's true. Here are some of the upcoming dates. Tomorrow is the deadline for donations, so please do head out. There's a table in the courtyard after the service, and make your donations if you haven't already. You can sponsor a lunch or a dinner. You can take people bird watching or boating, or an especially popular item, if you're lucky enough to have one, offer your vacation home for a week. We still need volunteers too, so please sign up today. Today and next week, at a different table out there, you can also buy tickets where that will get you into the auction, plus a lunch with wine. Of course, we want some wine before we get the bidding started. If you haven't attended the auction before, there's lots of activity and discussion about items and services being offered. During lunch, you can pore over the catalog one more time and get feedback from others on what you might bid on. If you're looking for ideas, here are some of the most fun items that Dana and I have won in past auctions. We attended a lobster palooza offered by Jennifer Miner. Is Jennifer here today? And that was so much fun. It was a seafood feast that we still talk about fondly. Linda Hill and her partner Bob took us out on their boat, and we explored the bay and had lots of laughs. I think it was the Morrisons who offered a gift card to Turtle's Restaurant out on Siesta Key, which has become one of our favorite waterfront restaurants for Sunday brunch. If you go there, you'll see other people from this congregation. This out the end of Siesta Key by Turtle Beach. The list goes on and on. Every year there are new surprises. Bidding on the auction is fun, occasionally competitive, and you learn about other members in a unique way. This year, Dana and I have just submitted an auction item. It's called a sushi party. It's a roll your own sushi party. We will teach you how to roll your own California rolls. You can read into that title what you want. So mark your calendar. Be here on April 10th so you don't miss the most fun you'll have all year.
Yay, thank you, Mary Lou. So now as we move into our prelude, I invite you to join us in a spirit of worship.
Good morning. I am Linda Bodycomb. I'm also the UU Service Committee's liaison, and I will be doing the chalice lighting words this morning, and I will be assisted by Catherine Bonner and AJ. Today's chalice lighting is a responsive reading called We Are Not Alone by Michael DeVernon Boblet. I will read a line or two, and then followed by your response each time when you are invited to respond by saying, "We are not alone." We are not alone. We are this flame, ancient as the stars, new as the vulnerable spark. We are not alone. We are this chalice, rimmed by the spiral dance of searching. We are not alone. We are the light soaring, the shadow deepening, the dance between them. We are not alone. We are the heirs of the tribes and their fires, the healers and their circles. We are not alone. We are here. We are here for ourselves. We are here for each other. And we are not alone.
Today, I'm going to share with you a new book by a person I really highly admire. And you know what? I'm so proud of our faith and our religious education programs for reinforcing the need to just help. Enjoy the book. Just Help, How to Build a Better World by Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, illustrated by Angela Dominguez. Each day, when Sonia woke up, her mother asked a question. How will you help today? Mommy was a nurse who helped people at the hospital every day, and Sonia wanted to help too. So each morning, Sonia set about to have a good answer for Mommy's question. One morning, Sonia knew just what she was going to help that day. She filled 2 shopping bags with candy bars, warm socks, nice soaps, sunglasses, pens, and notepads. When Sonia boarded the school bus, the driver helped her carry up the bags up the steps. "What's all this?" she asked Sonia. "Well, we're sending care packages to American soldiers overseas," Sonia said. And when Sonia got on the bus, not one seat was free. She did not know what to do. Then Booker and Sky waved to her. "You can come sit with us," they said, squeezing together to make room for Sonia. "Thank you," Sonia said. At school, Booker and Sky and Sonia emptied their bags onto a table in the gym. Many kids had shown up to help. For the service project, the kids sorted and packaged the treats in boxes that postal workers would pick up later in the day. Kylie was extra happy to help because her mom was a soldier in the Army, stationed far away. She missed her every day, but it made her smile to think of her mom opening up one of these care packages. And when she was done, Kylie gathered up the plastic shopping bags and gave them to Brooklyn. Now, Brooklyn loved undersea water animals, and she was upset to learn that plastic bags humans had dumped into the oceans made sea turtles sick. And so she read about a worldwide campaign to save the sea turtles. Brooklyn joined in to help. She started a recycling program at school just for plastic bags. And after the service project at the gym, she had a lot more bags to add to the recycling bins. After school, Gabriella and her brother Lucas went to the playground. There was trash everywhere. Gabriella thought about the recycling bins. "Hey, let's make today a park cleanup day," she suggested to the other kids, and they all agreed to help. Afterward, Lucas took a piece of chalk and wrote in big letters on the ground, "Keep our park clean. Please do not litter." When Jasper got home, he saw that his room was a mess, just like the park had been. As he cleaned up, he found brand new toys that he had never used. Jasper decided to donate them to the Children's Hospital because he remembered that when he was a patient there, he always felt better when the nurses brought him to the playroom. He wanted to help kids where they were there now. He brought the new toys next door to Maya because her dad worked as a janitor in the hospital and he could take the toys to the playroom. Well, Jasper's kindness reminded Maya that she had something special to give away too. She picked out her favorite shirt from her clothes drawer. Maya loved it, but she knew someone else who would love it more, especially today, her friend Simone. So Simone stood on a street corner with her dad and her brother Miles, and it was election day, and they were campaigning for their favorite candidate for city council, who promised to build more schools and more playgrounds. When Maya gave Simone the shirt, Simone was thrilled. "It's just like a sparkly American flag. Thank you," Simone said, and put it on over the shirt she was already wearing. So Simone and Miles were handing out flyers to everyone who passed by, including Samir and his mom. "Mommy, it's election day. Did you vote yet?" Samir asked. "Oh no, I forgot," his mom said. "Well, let's go vote. My teacher said your vote is a voice in the community." Samir wanted his mom to use it. So the voting booths were set up in the senior center. As Samir and his mom waited to vote, they saw Kunal pushing John in a wheelchair. Kunal was there to help John vote. John lived alone, and twice a week, Kunal spent the afternoon in the senior center visiting John and sharing snacks. "Promise me when you're 18 you will vote," John said as he stuck his "I voted" sticker onto Kunal's shirt. "When I was young, I was part of a great struggle to get the right to vote. Now I never miss the chance." "I promise," Kunal said. So later that evening, Sonia climbed into bed and her mother asked her, "Sonia, how did you help today?" Well, she thought about the service project for the soldiers and the recycling the plastic bags and cleaning up the playground and voting with Mommy. But she also remembered the bus driver who brought her to school today, and the postal workers who delivered the packages to the soldiers, and the poll workers who guided the voters, and her friends who helped in big ways and small. "We all helped each other today," Sonia said. As Sonia closed her eyes, she imagined that everything she did was like the yarn in the blanket her grandmother had made for her. It tied Sonia to everyone around her, even people she did not know, each one inspiring the next, knitting together a community that was safer, cleaner, wiser, healthier, and kinder. Like Sonia, her friends, and her neighbors, when we all do our part, we can all have a good answer to Mommy's question. How will you help today? So Sonia recognized that each of us doing something small or big to help makes our world better in our own communities, and those some things inspire others. So just like that butterfly effect, those good deeds ripple out. All it takes is seeing what needs to be done, and then taking your time to find and apply the right resources to just do what needs to be done. Each of us can. So now let us sing our opening hymn, number 121, "We'll Build a Land." After the hymn is done, our younger UUs are invited to leave through the back of the sanctuary where I will take you on an adventure.
Dissolves all morning. Oh, we'll build a promised land
Thank you. You may be seated. As we move towards our centering, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce the guest in our pulpit this morning, Heather Vickery. She is the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee's coordinator for Congregational Activism. And basically that means that she goes around the country both to our congregations and works with other organizations to create dynamic partnerships that really help our activism and be more impactful and change in the world. So it keeps her busy, and yet she also does some other things in her free time. I'm sure it's not all that free, but she works with Beyond Bond and Legal Defense Fund and is also very active in her home congregation, First Parish in Malden, Universalist. She is also an aspirant for Unitarian Universalist ministry, so is on her journey to become the Reverend Heather. So we are very happy to have you today and to have you begin by leading us in our time of centering. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you so much. And I realize I need to. I'm a little short, so thank you so much. I am so happy to be here with you all this morning and to center us in this time together. So I'm going to talk you through a guided meditation that will help us ground in our bodies and stretch ourselves past the false sense of separateness we often feel. So first, I'd like to have you take a moment and settle yourself in your seat, in these very comfortable chairs you have here. Maybe plant your feet on the floor. Maybe rest the backs of your arms against the back of your seat to open up your chest a little. And as you settle in, feel free to close your eyes if that is comfortable for you, or maybe just soften your gaze. Take a moment to turn your attention inward. Take a slow, deep breath in and slowly release it. And in, notice how each breath you take feeds your soul, sustains your body. Remind yourself that those two things aren't actually separate. Your body, your soul, they are one. Take another deep breath in, and as you exhale, expand your attention outwards to those closest to you. Notice that the air you breathe is the same air they breathe, even through our masks. Imagine as you breathe in and out that the strand of the web of life that connects you to the person closest to you gets stronger and more vibrant. Try to expand your attention farther from yourself. It's okay if it's difficult, this takes some practice. But see how many of the strands of life you can make real in your mind right now. Know that even if you can't imagine too far outside of yourself, it's okay, and that the web is still there. Know that it expands outward from this place and connects us each to all other beings on this planet and the planet itself. That our joy is not just for ourselves, and our pain is shared by all. That when others experience joy, our lives are better for it. Take a deep breath in and slowly release it. And as you slowly open your eyes and come back to this world where the web of life is not as visible, know that there is much work to do, but that we are not alone. We don't have to do it all. We just have to do our part. Take one last deep breath in and let it out. And now, please remain seated as we center in song, Spirit of Life.
In preparation for our sermon, a reading from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Network of Mutuality. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied to a single garment of destiny. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. There are some things in our social system to which all of us ought to be maladjusted. Hatred and bitterness can never cure the disease of fear. Only love can do that. We must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. Before it is too late, we must narrow the gaping chasm between our proclamations of peace and our lowly deeds which precipitate and perpetuate war. One day, we must come to see that peace is not merely a distant goal, but to actually seek by means peace. It is our way to arrive at that goal. We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means. We shall hew out of a mountain of despair a stone of hope. Here ends the reading. As we move into our offering, I remind you that if you are online, you can access a way to give by going down in the YouTube page to a link that allows you to do that. And for that matter, if you are here and would like to use your phone. For all of the folks, this time reminds us that more than ever, the ways that we are generous with one another make an incredible difference in the world. May we each find our own way to give what we can. The offering will now be given and received in a spirit of generosity.
Beautiful. Friends, can I have a quick show of hands? How many of you have, at one point or another, saw something in the news or heard about an injustice at some point in some other way and just got so overwhelmed by the world's sorrows that you wanted to give up? Okay. How many of you have felt that pretty recently with what seems like year 10 of the pandemic? The war in Ukraine, the rising cost of food, climate change. Yeah. In these difficult times, just like in other difficult times, it's really easy to feel despair or to feel overwhelmed by all the pain in the world. But our faith, Unitarian Universalism, our very principles, can help us connect to the hope that is all around us. It can show us what it means to have courage in times like these and can direct our actions so that we can get closer to the beloved community we all yearn for. And when I'm talking about these things, I always like to start by mentioning our seventh principle, which has been woven through all the rest of the pieces of this worship. It calls us to respect the interdependent web of all existence of which we are part. This principle tells us that none of us are free until all of us are free. That the oppression that one of us experiences oppresses us all in some ways. But we don't often lift up the other side of that. By relieving the suffering of just one person, we relieve the suffering of all in some way. By being in right relationship with others, by living out our values here and now, we get us all closer to liberation. It's a balance. We're responsible for each other, but we're not responsible for everything. We have our part to play. We are each part of the puzzle, but we don't need to put it all together. A common misunderstanding of our transcendentalist forebearers is that they were hyper-individualists. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps types, separate from everyone. However, if you actually engage with Emerson and Thoreau and the other transcendentalists of their time, they were really calling for moral authority to come from the individual, meaning that we each had to decide what was moral and right for ourselves rather than simply following the edicts of so-called higher authorities like the Pope, governments, or society at large. The transcendentalists balanced this with a sense of duty to all others. During their time, they were some of the most outspoken abolitionists, as they believed that anything that one person did to keep anyone else from achieving their true potential and their connection to God was an affront to the divine that is part of all of us. That's our history. So the questions we must ask ourselves is, what is ours to do? If we know that we are all interconnected, and as long as one person is oppressed, we are all oppressed, how do we find our piece of the puzzle? How do we build up the courage to take the leaps of faith this troubled world needs and that are required of us? And again, I like to look back at our history. I look back at the story of Waitstill and Martha Sharp, founders of the Unitarian Service Committee, which eventually became UUSC. During Hitler's march across Europe and the beginnings of the Holocaust, Unitarians knew they had to do something. They decided to send a couple to Europe to help as many people as they could. And many of the Unitarian couples they approached before the Sharps declined to take up the call. But when Waitstill and Martha Sharps when they were asked, they said yes. They didn't know what this mission would look like or feel like. It was nothing they had ever experienced before. However, they took that leap of faith. They had the courage to say yes. They knew they couldn't save everyone, but they didn't let that stop them from helping as many people as they could. And that made a difference. It not only made a difference for the individuals they helped escape Nazi Germany and the Holocaust, but it taught other groups and showed other groups and gave them the courage to make a difference. It showed others how to work in Europe during those times. By having the courage to do what they could, they gave others the courage to do what they could. Now keep in mind again, Waitzel and Martha Sharp were not the only ones in the story who took action. We remember their names because they were the ones who were called to the riskiest action at that time, but they could not have said yes to that call without the many Unitarians who donated and supported their efforts in less splashy ways. Some were called to give money to their efforts. Some were called to care for their children while they were in Europe. Some were called to tasks we will never know of. We aren't all always called to be part of the big actions. We won't all get arrested protesting unjust laws. We won't all need to put our very lives at risk to do what is right. For every person who takes those actions, there are many around them, supporting them, without whom the larger actions would not be possible. We all have a part to play. We are all pieces of the puzzle. So again, I ask, what is yours to do? How can you get us all closer to that beloved community where justice rains down like waters? The answer again comes back to the interdependent web. We work in collective action. One way to take collective action to more deeply live into the interdependent web of life is to join UUSC in the struggle for human rights across the globe. Become a member today by giving, and you will support the work of countless activists, organizers, and others who have been called to do this work in their communities. You will enable us to fund the work of our partners supporting Ukrainian refugees, like the Hungarian Helsinki Committee. You will enable the many activists who have been building up civil society in Burma, working for the human rights of the Rohingya and other ethnic minorities being persecuted by the Burmese army. You will support the indigenous communities around the world responding to the climate crisis, who have not been part of the problem, but are some of the first being displaced by rising sea levels. You might sign up for our mailing list at UUSC.org to get updates on actions you can take to support our partners' work in the US and internationally as well. Be the first to hear about opportunities for experiential education from the UU College of Social Justice, so when a call of action comes to you, you are prepared to take that leap of faith and say yes. Maybe you will be called to provide solidarity sponsorship to a detained migrant who just needs a citizen to fill out paperwork so they can pursue their asylum claim free from prison. Maybe you will be called to contact your representatives to demand that they save the right to seek asylum in this country by ending Title 42. Maybe you've already heard the call, but you're not sure where it's coming from. Well, find me after the service at coffee hour and we can talk. Okay? Together, friends, we can find hope. We can have courage. And we can take action for justice. So let us say together, Amen, Ashe, and let it be so. And now, if you would rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 318, We Would Be One. And now we will extinguish our chalice as we hear the words by Cheryl Block, As We Go Forward. As we go forward into this frightening, exhilarating, confusing, miraculous world, may we offer our comfort to the afflicted, our love to those who are lonely, and our wish for all to be safe.